Mm. Uh, Durden, Sliver just typed muted. Is he not? Are people not getting sound?
Lord, if you can hear us, type in the chat. If you can't hear Durden, also type in the chat. Can you hear me now? Can you hear us now? Is there? Oh, my name is Extophorus or Christophorus. Durden, if you watched the other VODs, you should know what Durden sounds like, as well as Aster.
So this is Aster. I'm also here. Durden's working on his sound for us. So as soon as we get that worked out, we will get rolling. Next, though, should we just make fun of Durden since he can't? People can't hear the responses, or is there a better use of our time?
All right, can
Oh,
you guys hear me now? Let's hope so.
Okay.
yeah,
Yay!
yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Yay! So, well, Mike ABC won't hear all the trash I talked about, how I beat him with my busted rotation. What a shame. The, So, everyone, thanks for hanging in there for a minute. We are here for Perfect Draft 101. And as my amazing co-host said, they're Aster, they're Exto. I think we've been doing this Exto over a month now, right? I think. And so,
Yep. Yeah, this is our fifth stream because we have the first one that we had all the great content in that's lost to the ages.
the best stream we will ever do. Um, yeah, so we'll. I mean, it's been kind of habit so far, but we'll stop with the introductions. We just love having you here. And with drops now, as Kidney said, we speed runned the affiliate process. Um, so if you didn't get all your drops earlier, we hope we're able to get you some Lou Gehrig's and Jackie Robinson. Um, Today we wanted to dig into which I don't know, Aster X though. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone try and tackle perfect draft. Did y'all?
Well, Warbot's last stream, they went through and looked at
Oh,
primarily like individual player statistics for Perfect Draft,
yes.
um, but they didn't really go into as much about the theory that I think we're planning on focusing on today.
Okay, yeah, and Mike and Charles, if you're here, apologies. Actually, man, I showed up for 5 seconds, but my new gig, my new work is taking a lot of time. So I've been meaning to go back and watch that VOD. So, but I heard great things about it. Um, So as Aster mentioned, we're gonna dig more into the theory tonight. We're not doing a huge deep dive. We don't want to this first time when we talk about perfect draft. We do want to leave a little meat on the bone for later. But what we wanted to do is really tackle it at the macro level tonight, the 30,000 foot view of perfect draft. And so we're going to hit a little bit of theory tonight, but we're really going to focus on a couple of core principles. We're going to get through the theory pretty quickly, which you've been with us. Sorry, my kids are doing dishes. But if you've been with us before, we're usually 45 minutes theory, 30 minutes application. We're going to try and really kind of flip that around and then some. We'll probably do about 15, 20 minutes of theory tonight, but we're actually hoping to do 2 perfect drafts live with you, where we actually talk about some of our core concepts. So Aster, you by far have more perfect draft success than me and Nexto, and so I'm gonna let you tackle some of the basics first.
So I think the most important thing with perfect draft is to recognize how inherently hard it is. You're dealing with twice the variance that you're dealing with in a normal tournament environment, because you've got the normal, engine variance of, okay, these are my cards, these are my opponent's cards, they're matching up. Who knows what's going to happen in any given game or series, and then throughout the tournament. But also you have an even bigger factor of each round of the perfect draft. What cards are you going to get? You could get 6 awful live perfect cards, or you could get Jackie Robinson, Lou Gehrig, and Hank Aaron, and just a wealth. And also sometimes it's not even that. It's more subtle than that. Sometimes you'll get a round where there's 4 really good diamond third basemen in the same round. You take one of them, and then you look to maybe get a backup, and they're all gone by that point, and you don't even really have a backup at third base. So there's just so much luck involved in the RNG of the tournament, but then also in the drafting, that you really have to set your expectations fairly low. Success in perfect drafts does not really equal out to the amount of times that you're going to win the tournament or place in a tournament that you are in regular tournaments. Also, because of the way that, thinking specifically, I mostly play daily perfect drafts, you basically get to sign up to one, to 2 a day. And so, if you look at the leaderboards, usually the people, most people, if they're really trying to, compete on the leaderboard, only get in 10 to 12 perfect drafts a week. So you're really not looking at that big a sample size of results. And, you can, in those 10, 12 perfect drafts, you maybe, if you win one and you have a couple other decent placements, and, all of a sudden you are in, you're in the top 10. I think I finished 11th this week, and I had 1 win, and I think I had a couple of, 5th to 8th place finishes, and that was basically it. You don't need to win multiple tournaments a week to be successful. You can really be one of the better players at this, just picking up, a couple a win here and there, and just advancing a couple rounds in hopefully a few tournaments. So I really think that that's got to be an adjustment to your mindset if you've already had success in tournaments, or and you're kind of trying to think I'm going to master perfect drafts. Nobody masters perfect drafts. You just have to play as many of them as you can possibly fit in, and try and make the best decisions you possibly can. And at the end of the day, you'll get some results, but nobody gets truly great results at this.
Yeah, and I want to mention Exto's said a few times on the streams that a lot of his tournament success this year came from getting in PDs and hitting that 3rd, 4th place and pulling in Eddie Matthews. So it really is about understanding that you may get some, like Aster was just saying, you may get some placements, 3 or 4 placements one week, and you may not place again for a week, and that's not abnormal. There are people consistently in that top 10, 15 rank. There are definitely a handful of people. But by and large, if you talk to people in the community, And between the three of us, we consistently talk to, I know it sounds like a lot, but like 60 people in the community. You're not going to hear someone talk about all the perfect drafts they win. It just doesn't happen. So we want you guys to know that there are no silver bullets. Like, if you're here for us to say, do this, and you'll win perfect draft, it doesn't exist. We'd be lying to you. It would just be entertainment value. There'd be nothing there. And so now what we can do is give you a set of principles. And principles are very different than cookie cutter strategies. We can give you some principles that you can try and operate from, and those principles will decrease the variance you'll experience. You're not going to win all the time, but they definitely can they can improve your perfect draft performance. So speaking of the principles, we have one quick slide where we just give you a couple of things to keep in mind. And so, Aster, I know these are near and dear to your heart too. Do you want to touch on the pitching versus hitting variance and roster flexibility?
Okay, so this is a concept that I kind of took from fantasy baseball. If anybody participates in that, I've been doing fantasy baseball auctions for about 20 years now, and one of the things you do when you allocate your budget for a fantasy baseball auction is you focus more of your money on the hitting, because hitters tend to return about close to what you thought they were going to overall over the course of a season, but pitchers don't. Pitchers are all over the place. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the engine. It's not quite as bad as at the beginning of the season, but since they've adjusted, they've adjusted the engine, pitching is still, sometimes in a perfect pitcher will be dominant lights out a whole tournament. Sometimes they'll, have a 5 ERA, and you just don't know. And so one of the things that I like to focus on is for the first few rounds, I want to get return on my investment. I only get, if we're talking about a standard perfect draft, I only get one perfect player and I only get 2 diamonds. I want to make sure that those guys are going to be major contributors to my team. And so unless I run into a weird situation where there just are no good hitters in a round, I'm almost always going to take a hitter in those first 3 rounds to try and build a strong base. Because I think if I have a similar valued hitter to a pitcher, I just think that I more often than not I'm gonna get what I think I'm gonna get out of the hitter, whereas the pitcher could end up carrying me the whole tournament, or could completely flop. So that's my focus when you're talking about whether to take pitchers versus hitters. And then the second thing is, especially early on, if I have a choice between 2 relatively comparable hitters, I'm going to take the guy who has more position eligibility. If we're looking at way up at the top, I might take Hank Aaron, who plays 4 positions, over just about anybody because he's one of the top half a dozen bats in the game, and I can move him around depending on what else comes up later in the draft. That's exactly what I was just trying to figure out in my head. Aaron versus Gehrig, I don't know that I've ever had that choice, but I almost think I would lean toward Aaron just because have so much more flexibility, and I'm really not giving up that much with the bat. Obviously, Gehrig's got a better bat, but I love being able when you get Aaron in the first round, and then I slot him in left field, and then if he gets moved around, then if you see guys come up at left field or right field, you can move him around. He just really gives you so many options.
Yeah. So, well, how many times, guys, and trying to capture this point, to I know Aster's trying to explain the theory, but how many times, okay, let's say you have Hank and Gehrig. That's a dream, right? Actually by the way, I got them in a double draft yesterday. And so imagine it's single perfect, and you have, Gehrig and Aaron. And so, but this happens all the time, and you're like, I'll take Gehrig. And then in round 2, you have an option to get Jimmy Fox, right? And now you can. And so, whereas you take Hank, right? And Jimmy comes up next, and then you have like Kravitz later and all these other options, and you can move Hank around to fit in those gaps in value that are being offered to you. And so, yeah, I mean, sure, Jimmy can DH in there, maybe, right? But you may get Greenberg and another. Oh my God, Pedro Guerrero! Holy crap, he's valuable, right? You can fit him almost anywhere. The tournament edition, and so anyway, just like talking about, especially in the earlier rounds, it's just something to think about when you're looking at positional flexibility. Of course, Gehrig is far and away the best hitter in the game. Like it's not even close. And so yes, Gehrig is amazing, right? And if it's Gehrig and just some other mediocre people, and one of them's got positional flexibility, sure, you're going to take Gehrig there. But but just trying to illustrate how positional flexibility can be critical in those first, second, third rounds can be critical to be sure that you don't have to pass up an amazing player in the gold rounds. Because you took someone who was a little bit better, but they had single position eligibility. So, yeah, BJR is amazing, right? Because he's got a diamond bat and perfect level pitching. He's awesome, totally. All right, anything else you guys want to add about that?
I would just like to point out that I have never been offered Bullet Joe Rogan in a perfect draft.
I haven't either.
And I would say I average somewhere between 25 and 30 perfect drafts a week between my three teams.
Aster, I don't know. Have you X though?
No, I don't. I don't think I've ever seen.
Now that you got me thinking about it. There you go. He is there.
I mean, I didn't doubt that he was there, but I just have never had the option. I think that I think that if you do get BJR, I mean, if it's BJR versus Aaron, I think that's a close call. I think you're going to be fine either way. You're in great shape, but I do think that having an ace pitcher and a diamond bat from one pick is a pretty rare opportunity, and I think you take it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to spend the whole stream talking about our top 5 picks because you're just so rarely ever going to get more than one good option. Every once in a while, you'll get Gehrig and Aaron or Jackie and Bullet Joe Rogan, but that doesn't happen that often. And really, what's more important is deciding what to do when you don't have any of those top guys and your choices are live Trout and 2 perfect relievers and Ray Schalk and and players like that. That happens a lot, and you just have to be able to adjust and thinking about who you're going to get if you get like the perfect round is just, it doesn't really add much. You can't really make a mistake at that point. Whereas if you get one of those bad choices, then you need to make the least bad choice because a really bad perfect round can sink your whole draft.
Yeah. So speaking of which, we're going to try and power through these last slides in about 8 to 10 minutes, but we have 2 super important PD principles. This is the second most important. We'll give you the most in a moment. But the most important PD principle is called the pivot. And so those of you awesome, amazingly cool people that watch anime like me, in Cowboy Bebop, there's a whole episode about Spike is talking about you have to be like water. But that's really what we're talking about here. Like the best PD drafters are like water. Like they have a vision for what they want to do, but they're adjusting every round. And so inevitably at some point, you're going to be faced with a pivot. And that pivot's going to make or break that draft for you. And the pivot is where you get, kind of like Astor was talking about, sometimes the pivot's in round 1. And you have, 2 live relief pitchers or whatever, like 2 crappy relief pitchers. And you've got a live pitcher and you've got, some Bray Shaw. Like, you've got these mediocre options, and you have to say, okay, like, going into a draft, if the draft flows to me, I'm looking for elite hitting options, and I'm pivoting to 2 or 3 pitchers in gold, 2 or 3 starting pitchers in silver, 2 or 3 relievers by then, like, of course, that's the dream for all of us, but it doesn't work that way. And at some point, you got to pivot, and you have to start adapting to the draft. And so that moment, that pivot, is going to make or break that PD for you. And so, yeah, Sliver, totally. Sometimes the team has to draft itself. And so where we, like, man, we have hopped on with so many people to talk through perfect draft strategies. And, like, I can tell you that we hear it over and over and over again, where players are like, man, I never win a perfect draft. And we're like, okay, kind of talks through what you're doing. And they're like, well, I always take, a shortstop in the first 3 rounds, and it's like, no, like, you've got to have a vision, but you have to flow with the draft, and you can't force the draft to fit your strategy, some predetermined strategy.
I want to just add to that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think perfect drafts in 22 versus 23 kind of changed. So it was, with defense mattering more in 22. I feel like you would want to pick like a really good center fielder. You'd want to pick a really good shortstop. You want to pick a catcher with high catcher ability. And the card layout back in 22 was that, there weren't that many, great options or great value cards in the middle rounds, like gold and silver for those positions. And so you're kind of forced to take those marquee positions at an earlier spot in the draft, where with the way cards are now in 23, like, you could play a silver center fielder and it would be perfectly fine. Yeah. But I think doing that in 22 would have been really questionable.
Yeah, unless it was Silver Ozzy. But yeah, like Exo said perfectly, like, it's even more critical in PT23 to flow with the draft. Like, you just simply have to. If you have this rigid concept, like we all did in PT22, if you have a rigid concept for what a PD team should look like, you're gonna be really, really frustrated in PT23. Let's see. So the biggest single most important factor in PD success is positional scarcity. And so I just offer a quick little definition: the drop-off in positional capacity between drafting tiers. Drafting tiers being the tiers of cards: perfect, diamond, gold, silver, bronze, iron. And the positional capacity is how well can the best cards in that tier perform. And so, or we could even say, I wouldn't say average, because obviously people are trying to take above average cards per tier, but we'll just say the aggregate cards being selected in PD, right? And so positional scarcity would be like the drop off between diamond. I'm a dummy, by the way. I said diamond shortstop and gold shortstop, and then I put a screenshot of first base. But the drop off in pulled value between diamond shortstop and gold shortstop. And so, like, that's the positional scarcity would be the various drops per position per tier, which we actually have some slides for you guys. And so let me move this up so you can see. And so, but Exo and Aster, this is far and away the most important concept tonight. Anything you guys want to add about positional scarcity?
I think this is kind of dovetails into a lot of the stuff we've been talking about in terms of caps and whatnot. Like the cards that perform well in caps are probably going to perform well in perfect draft. And as you play more and get more comfortable with your deck and then what's available in perfect draft, you can kind of, I guess, pick out the highest value cards. Because in this graphic where, I've lumped together all the perfect cards, all the diamond cards, all the gold cards, and so on and so forth. But, like, these are the averages, so there are cards that outperform the values here, and really that's what you're hoping that you get to select when that slot comes. Like, you don't want to be picking, the gold first baseman who's going to be a 1-WAR player, because the on average you should be able to find a silver first baseman that is going to be doing that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, that's
oh, sorry, go ahead, Aster.
no, I mean that's one of the main things is just recognizing where there's still a pool of good cards yet to come. Like if you're in the diamond round and there's a pretty good right fielder and a pretty good second baseman and you're making a choice, one of the things that I think about is there are just so many dominant gold right fielders out there. There's Cravath and Sox Siebold, and Pedro Guerrero can play there, and there's just lots of different options. Giancarlo Stanton, that I'm gonna take the second baseman because I can't start listing great gold second baseman. There's a couple. You might get Toby Harrah, you might get Michael Young, but there's only a couple. So I'd much rather take the second baseman in the diamond round and then leave myself the hope that I'm going to get one of those many good gold right fielders. And then the other thing is, if I don't get one of those good gold right fielders, there's a lot of good silver right fielders too. And that same goes for left field. Same goes for first base. Third base is kind of close to the first base and the corner outfielders spots, but if you can get a good solid, now obviously if you look at your second baseman that's available in the diamond round and he has a noodle bat and mediocre defense, don't reach for that. But if it's close, go for the scarce positions. That's second base, shortstop, center field. You don't have to take them early automatically like you did in PT22, but I'm much happier if I get somebody solid and then know that I'm going to get a pretty close to as good a bat in the outfield and at first base than I would have gotten in the diamond round.
Yeah. So you don't have to have the database memorized, guys, but you do need... I will say it's worth sitting down with pen and paper or Excel if you're in the 21st century. It's worth sitting down and looking through the database, looking through the auction house. Just be sure to cut off like cards owned, whatever, cards that don't have buy orders, and just kind of skimming and understanding the top 3 or 4 options. Or, by the way, something I haven't done because I'm an idiot, watch Mike ABC and Charles' stream from last week where they go into top positions. And so take notes there. Get screenshots of the slides we're about to show you, and just be aware, right? Because like just talking about second base, like Astro was talking about, sure, Willie Randolph is not a tier 1 card anymore, but holy crap, is he so much more valuable than anything else you're gonna like, far and away anything else. He's not Jackie, but man, he's there's a gulf between Willie Randolph and the rest of the second base options that you're going to find in the database. And so, like, you have Willie Randolph in this massive gulf, right? And then in Diamond, Jeff Kent's pretty good. McManus is okay. Bobby Avila's okay. Like, they're pretty good cards. There's a few okay Diamond second basemen. But then when you talk about the gap between those and, like, let's cut out Hara and Mike Young for a second. Oh my God, the gap between Huggins or McManus or Jeff Kent and Orlando Hudson? Like, man, there's a huge gap there. And so, anyway, not to beat this into the ground, but like, you just need to be aware of the drop-offs in available options. So, all right, so guys, get your screenshots ready. We're about to show you some slides, and then we want to get in the perfect drafting though. So, all right, here's pitching scarcity. If you want to screenshot this, these are Xdo is everyone's favorite human in the community because he puts this stuff together for us. But even just looking at pitching, Like, yes, sometimes you want to take a perfect picture. You can see that, yeah, there's a pretty marked improved performance between what's generally being taken in perfect rounds versus diamond rounds. So you can get a screenshot there. And Aster and Exo, just feel free to cut me off if there's anything you ever want to add. I know we're going to move through these pretty quickly.
Yeah, just in general, like as we were discussing about what to do for the stream, like I want to just give a shout out to Mike and Charles and how they structured their PD stream. It really inspired me to kind of do something like this. And I was just like, well, I have a ton of data, so let's like I don't have the modeling capabilities of Charles, but I think this is really neat and just showing how important it is to get cards at the right spot, I would say, and if not, try to find value otherwise. So I think that's what these slides, like the scarcity between first and second, and just the pitching, like you get to it paints kind of a vivid picture of how the engine's performing basically with the cards that we have. And in a month or two, as new cards come in, like I'm sure the colors on my graphs are on my charts and screenshots are going to change, and you're going to see maybe it flatten out a little bit more, or maybe it shifts more in one direction or the other.
Yeah. So one thing I'll note, guys, is as you grab these screenshots and you go back and take a look at them, just look at the drops, right? So just real quick here, first base. There's some great diamond first base options. They're a little splitty, especially down in the low diamond range, but there's some great options, right? No one's gonna cry if, oh God, why did I just blank on his name? The 99 Negro League first baseman.
Buck Leonard.
Yeah, Buck Leonard. No one's gonna cry if you end up with Buck Leonard. Of course, right? But when you get down into some of the 91, 92 options, it can get pretty darn splitty. But yeah, when you think about the perfect first base options, yeah, there's Lou Gehrig, and Frank Thomas is a monster in perfect drafts, of course. And so there's some really good options there. There's a big drop, but there's a bigger drop in second base. As you can see, there's about a 2.28 drop between perfect and diamond first base. But there is a 2.51 drop between perfect and diamond. So just something to think about as you're looking. That's what we're talking with positional drop off. So third base shortstop. As you can see, there are a lot of really good third basemen, all the way down through gold. And so gold.
I think the joke on Mike and Charles' stream was, how many third basemen can you fit on your team?
Yeah, they're awesome. There's great options through there, there's no super mega elite. It's Brooks and everyone else, right? So there's no mega elite option, and so but there are some good options in third base. I'm not crying if I get Sal Bando. He's awesome. So and he's at 80. So shortstop. Kind of the same thing. We don't have any dominant shortstops right now. So I actually look for balance in my shortstops, and I'll often punt all the way down the silver to get my shortstop. But yeah, we don't have any really dominant shortstops right now. So so then we have left field, right field, and as Aster was talking about, there are some mega options all the way through gold in both of the corner outfield slots. And as you can see, the drop off from perfect to gold is about 1.6 for both of them. It's not much of a drop off. And then last, center field and catcher. Center field's somewhat of a mess right now. You got about 4 or 5 total, really good options across all of the PT verse. And then obviously in catcher, catcher's just catchers. I don't know. Aster, Exo,
I'm
do you guys ever draft catcher before silver?
I'm surprised perfect catches are above average bats. I guess that's like Pudge.
Yeah.
Bresnahan. I think people maybe take. I don't know how. If people take Bresnahan but don't play him at catcher, does he count as a catcher in your data?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
that I there's a couple of catchers that people might draft and then not actually play at catcher. The only guys that I'll take before silver round is I'll take Stanley. I'll
Yeah.
take Posey on occasion. There's a couple other guys. I actually end up sometimes with there's two tournament edition the Gary Carter and the Benito Santiago. I
Yes.
don't I don't mind taking if there's no real great options just to fill my catcher spot. But really, I'm just praying to get Mickey Tettleton. Um,
yeah.
one
The
thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Exo.
Oh, go ahead, Exo.
Platinum Series Pudge has the most plate appearances, and his WRC plus is 107. But yeah, Bresnahan is third, and yeah, he's up to 125. So he's a
Okay,
good bat.
that makes sense. One concept that I think it's important to think about in looking at these, as you look at the degradation from, as you drop down to each tier, is the the wobas aren't dropping that much when you go down, especially like from gold to silver, but the war is going down a lot, and that's because a lot of times the bats are fairly similar, but the defense goes, at right field might go down from like 80, 80, 90 to like, 60, 70, and I don't think that hurts you nearly as much as it did in 22. I think you can get away with having, silver corner outfielders that are only like 60 overall, 70 overall at their position, defensively at their position. Whereas, up the middle, it's more important to get defense. But a lot of times you can wait and fill those corner outfield and first base spots because you're getting basically the same bats that you were getting in gold, but you're getting a weaker defender, and I just don't think you get penalized as much.
Yeah. No, really good points. I agreed with all the catchers you guys brought up, and I was going to say Mike Stanley is probably carrying 0.69 of that 0.71 war in gold. Good lord, that card's amazing. All right, guys, y'all ready to perfect draft? Let's do this. Yeah, totally kidneys, man. Mike Stanley is. Man, that card's awesome. Oh, great. I drew Snells. That sucks. Snells is a beast. All right, what do we want to do first? Do we want to do a regular perfect draft or do we want to do a double non-live?
Start with the regular.
Yeah, let's do the regular.
Okay. By the way, if you guys want to riff while I get this set up, someone had a question. Do you change your perfect draft strategy based on best 7, best 5, and do or die?
I tried to answer in the chat. So for round robin, I think it's just more important to consider your backup depth. I said depth in the chat, but the depth, just because you're gonna get what, like uh, potentially 13 games in a row or something. So
Yeah.
um, I don't play those very often, but I
yeah.
guess you need to reach more, I guess, for position players and maybe punt on pitchers, but that's just one strategy.
Yeah. I don't know, Aster. And by the way, this is purely conceptual. I'm not sure what Aster may say, but gosh, I can't imagine doing a do or die. But if I did, I like hearing you say it out loud, X. Though I like your argument, but I was actually going to say like, I think it's just kind of critical to get moving. And so I might reach for an SP1 or SP2. I might, but then like heavily focus on offensive production. But I don't know. It's just kind of my thought.
I almost entirely play the dailies, so the dailies are all best of
Same.
sevens, I think. And so I really haven't thought much about it. That might be something we talk about in a future stream, is getting into the adjustments you make. The weeklies have a lot more varied formats, so we maybe could get into that a little bit.
Yeah. All right, we ready? Let's rock. All right. Here we go. Oh, we have Hank. We have a Hank sighting. I mean, okay. For the sake of conversation, um, we'll look at Turkey Stearns. I don't think he's bad by any stretch. Turkey's awesome.
Stearns is the best, I
Yeah,
think, center fielder.
man, he is very splitty, but I mean, Hank's awesome. Turkey's great. Hank's awesome. Turkey does. I typically do. If I'm looking at a left-handed bat or right-handed bat, and all things are equal, I'll typically go left-handed. Um, but I don't think Turkey's bad. Is there any world where we don't take Hank?
I don't know if you watched the recent Doctor Strange movie, that one where their faces were like paint and floating around. Maybe that world. Um, but no, I don't think I don't even think there's a I don't even think there's a choice.
Yeah.
Um, if it was Turkey Stearns versus somebody that only played one position that was like a similar bat, but
Yeah, and so here's a classic, guys. By the way, like here's a classic round two. You have an okay pitcher and another okay pitcher. You have a defensive gem in the corner. You got a live card and a closer, and you have Arenado, right? So like these have been very anticlimactic draft rounds early. But is there a world where we don't take Nolan Arenado?
no.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had a third baseman already.
Yeah, totally. And so so General Crowder, like guys, he's a good pitcher. But that profile 6'8", 9'9", 77, we're probably going to see it 2 or 3 times in the gold rounds, right? Like, so don't like this is what we're saying. Like, don't overthink this. It's Nolan Arenado. Let's roll. Ooh, this is a spicy round. We have the defensive monster, Art Fletcher. For those of you that haven't seen him much, he's just an absolute beast. He's just kind of an empty bat. He's a slap hitter. Phenomenal defense. We have Miller Huggins, who is a man after my heart. Good on the base paths. Phenomenal defense at second. And that eye. Holy crap, that eye. And then we have some good pitchers. Dizzy Dean's good. Cy Young is great. But I'm thinking Huggins. Aster Exto, what are your thought processes?
I would lean towards Huggins. And this might be a good example. Is like if we had in this round Miller, Huggins, and 99 Kevin Brown. I might lean toward the pitcher. If it was one of the very top pitching options, then I that would be close enough. But I just think with two like pretty good but not great pitchers, I'm taking Huggins to have the elite defense at second base, and the bat's not great overall, but the eye definitely plays. He's going to be a great guy to put first or second in the lineup and get on base for Hank.
Yeah. So Cavalcom had a question. Why not take the starting pitcher? I think it was Crowder last round when third base depth is insane. So yes, third base does have great depth, Cavalcom, but Nolan Arenado is like he's still a top tier option at third base. Now, kind of like Astor was saying, if it was 99 Kevin Brown, yeah, it's a little little more kind of pause and think about it. But I mean, he's a gold pitcher. General Crowder. It's Crowder or Chowder. I always call him Chowder. But like, you're reaching for a gold pitching option when you can just go ahead and lock down third base with the top tier pick. So, yeah, like Kidney said, is there any third baseman we're going to see that's better than Arenado? Absolutely not. Yeah, Eddie Matthews has an argument to be made. So we're taking Huggins, and we're checking our draft. Guys, always check your draft. Raise your hand if you've ever accidentally drafted 2 shortstops like before the silver rounds. Yes. And so like
DH.
you end up with a shortstop DH. And so always keep an eye on your draft progress, like please. So, all right, this is a spicy round. What are we doing?
I think that. Hold on. Another thing is always set what position the card is going to play.
Yes.
So that when you look, you can quickly figure out what you need.
Yes. So what he's saying is, yes, huge point, Exto. Thank you. Just right click over here and set what position you want them to play. So I'm leaving Hank open right now. But it's really important with your multi-positional cards because it helps you visualize your roster. All right, Aster, what are we thinking?
I'm thinking Sad Sam Jones is an absolute must.
Agreed.
I typically try and get 3 or 4 gold starting pitchers. I'm not really that familiar with the Mike Garcia, but
good.
him or Quintana would probably be my likely second choice.
Any love for Marlon Bird?
Guys, I have to leave. So I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you guys so much.
You're good, Aster.
And I'll leave you with Durden and Exto for the rest of the draft.
Yeah.
Good night, guys.
We'll see you, Aster.
Bye.
Okay.
Enjoy.
So yes, Capcom. One thing we haven't brought up yet is at least count your catchers. And because I was talking, I haven't been counting my catchers. I think these are the first 3 we've seen. I think. But yes, at least count your catchers. And so you get 10 positional players per draft, per position, right? So you're going to get 10 catchers, 10 first basemen, 10 second, 10 short. So last year, PT22, I used to count my catchers, my shortstops, and my center fielders. That does not include multi-positional eligibility. And so it includes what their front of card says. And so, yes, Sean Figgins plays tons of positions. He counts as one of your third base options. And so you get 10 per position per draft. And so, yes, if we pass on catcher, we are passing on 3 catchers here. I still would probably go Mike Garcia. Just me. I like to have at least 3 gold pitchers, typically, but I will fall down to 2 if I need to. I like Benito Santiago, just because for the bat, if we do go catcher. So, Exto, do we want to go catcher or Mike Garcia?
Let's go Mike Garcia.
Okay. All right, we're going to pick it up just a little bit because we're at the 11-minute mark. Oh, hey, look at there, guys. The most dominant card in the game. All right, so we got a couple. We have nothing stand out other than Morrill, and we do need a first baseman. And Morrill's got great positional eligibility. We do have Yogi as an option.
The power probably plays up, but I don't know how well he actually grades out. But
yeah, so let's say that's our 4th catcher. I'm gonna get burned later when it's really our 5th one, but let's say that's our 4th catcher. Oh man, I'm not a big fan of Jose Cruz. Very splitty bat.
what about Trent?
Trent's not bad. 6'3", 97. That 69 control kind of stinks a little bit, but he's not bad. Carl Mays, yeah, he's a junk baller. Eddie Plank, 70, 91, 63. I typically go right-handers when I'm trying to pick between two pitching options.
I like the 70 threshold on Plank, even though it may or may not mean anything.
Yeah. He's typically reverse. His cards historically have been reverse. Yeah, he's reverse splits. All right, let's want to play with fire and pass on another catcher.
There's lots of catchers.
Yeah. All right, so I like this. All right. Ooh, we got Marquise Grissom. Love this card.
Oh, we could pick Dickey.
Yeah, we could take Dickey, which Wishill's PT22 Dickey, but he's not bad. He's not bad.
He's an average bat, so that's good.
Yeah, and so I feel like we kind of have to go. Man, do we have to go Marquise over Honeygrow? Honeygrow is going to be DHing, 100%.
Does he play anywhere else though?
No, just second and third.
That's not the worst.
Yeah,
Between Grow and Morrill, you got most of the infield covered. But I think Grissom with the defense is probably.
Yeah, I like Grissom, and I don't know. I think I'm okay with passing on Grow here. Yeah, I agree, Slibbard. Grissom and Dickey's pretty good.
Grissom's an average bat as well. He's 1,000 WRC plus. So
yeah. All right, we going Dickey and Grissom.
Yep.
I like it. All right, we're fleshing out good here. We just need to keep him on shortstop, and we need a few more. Oh, Donnie Bush. Huh. Wow.
Speak of the devil.
Speak of the silver shortstops. Wow, that fell on our lap. All right, so that's a no-brainer.
Howard for DH, or maybe Steven for SP5.
So, yeah, this is not... Cal Daniels is super splitty, isn't he? Yeah. Oh, man, but those... That V right's pretty spicy, but man, that dude falls off a cliff. VL. Hamus is another... Am I thinking the gold one? No. Yeah, he's not awful as a super sub. Man, he's no pitching options. We can take Webster McDonald as a SP5. You're a pretty big believer in the 70 stuff threshold, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I think because you're facing the 44 stamina is the stuff that's kind of scary, though.
Yeah. All right, we could be wrong, but I'm gonna believe in Webster McDonald.
We have the defense, so
we do have the defense. All right, let's do it. We got to pick up our pace. All right. Ah, man, McTemney, so good. We do have Vandermeer.
Oh yeah, that works.
I like Vandermeer. Oh, Shinez.
Connie Johnson.
Connie Johnson is. Oh, that's the good Johnson too. Okay, I think we take him. I was gonna say Shinez. By the way, guys, is a phenomenal bullpen arm. I wish we had room to grab him, but yeah, I think we have to take Connie and Vandermeer here. Vandermeer, I mean, he can play in your rotation, so I think that lets us. Yeah, Connie or Vandermeer would be a great bullpen arm. Or Webster McDonald can go over there too and try and get a little stuff bump. All right. Ooh, this fell in our lap. This is a great card for left field.
Those splits are pretty good.
Yeah, great. G. Walker wouldn't have been awful, but
you could pick up Morgan.
Oh yeah, take Eli here. I think he's our best. Ooh, Will Crow's pretty spicy. Do we take Will Crow over Eli Morgan?
I think it's either or.
Yeah.
I get more strikeouts with, obviously with Eli, but
Yeah. Ooh, that. I think. Oh, they're both. Man, they both got great stamina, too. Okay, so we got to move. 5 minutes. All right, so now, guys, you really in bronze. I typically start looking for a bullpen. If bullpen's an option, I grab it because we have every position covered right now. And so we do need a backup catcher. I think around. I usually write it down. I think around catcher 6, and we need a really good bullpen. I like to go into the iron with at least 10 arms. So, all right.
but Trevino is good.
Yes, Trevino.
If we want to bat, there's Donaldson is
Ooh,
decent.
Von Hayes covers a massive amount of the field.
Von Hayes is good for the flexibility.
Yeah, I like it. We're going Trevino and Hayes.
Duvall is good. Yeager we can take for our second.
Bernie Freeberg covers the rest. We could just be done. Yeager and Freeberg.
I would take Duvall and Yeager.
You want Duvall? Okay. And you want Duvall and Yeager?
Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, he's a great PD card to keep an eye out for. Bernie Freeberg.
I just think we're going to have so many irons that
Yeah.
hopefully we can cover that.
No, but Yeager's a great value pick for backup. Tom Burns.
There's our shortstop backup.
Oh, Bingo DeMoss. Yeah, but I like Tom Burns here. And Joe Kelly, I think. 70, 80, 240.
Yeah. I think Munoz is the only other one that maybe I don't know what his stuff is, but
Yeah. Ooh, 106, 35, 50.
he's going to strike out a lot of people.
Yeah, we're going Munoz. All right, we need at minimum 2 arms. We do not have a lot of arms to pick from. Holy cow. Do we have any? Blake Taylor? Man.
We're going to be a little short. Well, we got Zeal for third.
Wow. Okay. I've never seen one arm in the final round before. Holy cow. Okay,
Sousa.
Michael Tucker's awesome.
Oh, yeah, Tucker's good. Yep. Palacios.
Yeah, for the defense. It's
Yeah.
short. Andrews. Ooh, I think we take Andrews over Palacios, right?
Well, do we have enough backups? Would be
I
the
think we do.
Right.
Tom Burns covers second, third, short, and Von Hayes covers first, third. We're definitely going to take Tucker's got us. We have third there. Roman Quinn is a good defensive. So we could always go that direction.
Yeah, I like Quinn.
I think I do too. And then that gives us the luxury of just taking Andrews, right?
McAllister versus Zeal. If we didn't have that second catcher, that's maybe something where we could have improved. Is we skip on Yeager and we pray that we get a catcher in the
Yeah,
last round.
totally.
But yeah, I think Andrews for the defense.
Okay. That's a good draft. It's a competitive draft. I don't know if it'll be a winner, but that was a competitive draft. Zeal just wipes out our Nado pick. Oh, that's funny. So we take a look. I'd just do a once over, guys. And yeah, we got 6 pin arms. This is going to be a stretch. I don't know if I want Eli. I'm definitely going to move McDonald. Simply because we need some stam. Luckily, we have big stam other than Mike Garcia. And so this is a draft where I'm going to crank up the starting pitching hooks. And my starting pitchers just got to carry us. So I'm going to crank it up about +4 globally. And in that case, if we had another pin arm, I'd probably put Eli Morgan at SP5. It'd be a pretty close pick. I don't know. Would you agree with that, X though?
Yeah, I think if we had 7 or 8 arms, yeah, then you can run Morgan with a low pitch count.
Yeah.
I saw, for people who run bronze, I saw someone. I think whoever won the bronze recently had Twitchell on like a 70 pitch count. I've been playing around with that, but it's
Yeah.
puts a bit of taxation on your bullpen.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to let them reset. They're not going to mess it up. Connie Johnson might actually go in. No, Connie Johnson or Webster and Bonner. I'll probably take a look at that later. Look at Connie versus Webster. The reason I like Webster is for the stam and the 84 control. And so this is a draft where I'd probably play around with turning down pitch around. Just try and let the starters get more effective pitch counts going. But yeah, it's I mean, we kind of that last round was brutal. We definitely needed another arm or two. I will often get 8 pin arms, especially if my bullpen's primarily bronze. I will often get 8 pin arms in Perfect Draft. I do think that's important. And then I'm going to just do a quick, I don't want Tom Burns. As, yes, that gap is awesome, but I probably want Von Hayes. I know he's covering a big chunk, but I probably want Von Hayes in there. And then Todd Zill, the monster, is probably going to be my VL. Let's go look real quick. Let's turn this if starter tired. And then probably moving Zill up, right? Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look at that later. But I would definitely give that some consideration. Zill is DH there. So probably moving Zill up here too. I would tinker with this later. You always want to take a look.
You could also DH Yeager, but then you put yourself at a disadvantage potentially.
Yeah, I would by the way, if you ever DH your catchers, you do want to put the bench win fatigue individually at 98, 99. It's just something to think about, keep an eye on. But we'll get into all of that in future streams. Sorry. Another stream, by the way, guys, if something to think about too is we were thinking about just doing a really low key sit around and have fun and laugh stream, but kind of show you guys all the little quality of life stuff in PT because it's huge this year. As you can see, I customize all my views like this. We can get into little stuff like how strategy is different this year with a lot more global settings. We can get into views. We can get into, I can't go into manage cards, but we can get into manage cards and talk about how to set up filters and searches. And so, I don't know. Would you guys be interested in something like that one week? If so, just let us know. But Exto, I know we ran over a little bit, which is kind of our shtick at this point. But was this helpful for everyone? Just kind of breaking down PD's high level. Would love to know so. Cool. Thank you, Rom. Yeah, we'll probably have a low-key week where we just get into all the quality of life stuff, and we're probably going to riff most of it. I don't think we're going to have a slide deck ready or anything like that. We'll probably just kind of walk through PT and just kind of show all the customizations. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. We were hoping to get 2 drafts in, but Aster had something come up personally. And let's see if I'm still alive in Monday. Yes. Aster had something come up, and we're running over, and my kids they started giving me the hook around 8 o'clock Central. So, any last thoughts, Exto, about perfect drafts?
I find daily perfect drafts is probably the best in terms of getting a feel for stuff, because if you do it on you can wait for Thursday for the new cards to drop before you do it. You don't have to wait a couple of days to do the draft. The quicks are like, it took us 20 minutes to like prepare for a quick or for this draft, and it was just a daily. So like, I find the quicks, unless you're want to just get a feel for the mechanics of perfect draft, they're probably a good thing. But with what our first slide was, like, there's already tons of RNG, so it's kind of takes a certain individual to kind of enjoy doing the quick perfect drafts. But I think for the different formats, it's a great way to kind of get an idea for it. But
Yeah.
in general, I think dailies are kind of like the sweet spot, at least for me.
Yeah. No, XO, I couldn't agree more. The if you're brand new and you just want to practice drafting, like remembering to count your catchers and all of those, fundamentals that do lend it, they do coalesce into great performance, right? If you're just looking for reps, quicks are awesome. However, like if you're looking to be competitive, like Exto was saying and Aster earlier, like I highly recommend doing the dailies. I know the weekly drafts are awesome, like pros pools, like they're great. But you're drafting and waiting 3 or 4 days. Now they're great for alt accounts, right? Like with every license you get 3 accounts, and so they're great to get a second and third account going early in the cycle and pop it in a few times, sign up for weeklies and drafting, and then hoping you win the big prize, right? So they're great for that. But in terms of your main account and just trying to be competitive and really get reps and play great teams, daily PDs are the way to go. So everything has its place, but we're talking about trying to compete in PT, qualifying for the monthly tournaments in PTCS. The daily PDs are the most competitive option. So,
And for someone like me who I'm a little slow on the uptick, so being able to pull data every two tournaments a day, you get a better feel if you're more data oriented.
yeah, agreed. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And I know Aster was really bummed he had to bounce early, so we're gonna go check on him. And thank you guys for coming. Shoot me a DM if drops weren't working, so I can connect with Nico and figure out what happened there. But I hope you got drops. I hope you get Lou Gehrig, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.